Welcome to Colonize the Ocean podcast, where we discuss oceanic colonization, exploration, and education with your hosts Adam Jewell and Brendan Traxler.
Meanwhile, the Legion of Doom, it's the Atlanta Sea Colony guys, doing their bi-weekly live stream. I'm Adam.
Is it weekly or is it bi-weekly?
Bi-weekly. Bi-weekly means every 2 weeks.
That's one of those things where is it every twice a week or is it every 2 weeks? I always get that mixed up.
Yeah, it's every 2 weeks.
Does it want to be bi-monthly?
No, bi-monthly would mean every 2 months. And I've never heard bi-monthly before, by the way.
English language, you know.
Anyways, what up, Glenn? Before I get saying hi to Glenn, even though I just did, we got Brendan as always. Obviously, he's here. He's the man. But
not always. I have not been here a couple times.
Yeah. Well, okay, very few times. But we are blessed today with the presence of the one and the only Babe Hyde. Babe, how you doing today, buddy?
Good. How are you?
I'm wonderful.
Good.
Brendan, how are you?
I'm fine.
Okay. Well, I didn't want you to feel left out. So.
Oh, well, appreciate it. Appreciate the thought.
What do we got any before we get into the regular? Obviously today, Babe's going to kind of take the lead today on today's subject, but I don't know. Any what do they call it?
Housekeeping.
Housekeeping. Thank you. Any housekeeping we got to do?
Yeah, there's a couple things going on actually. One thing there's a couple things actually. So one thing I got an email today for our YouTube audience that they're going to allow. What do they call it? They call it handles. So like everybody's channel will get a handle. So it'll be at something. But we get to pick a handle for it so that for mentioning it through social media or finding your channel, it's a little easier. Until we can get enough followers where we get the, YouTube / Atlanta Sea Colony, we get the at whatever. So we have to decide what our at is going to be. Is this going to be at ASC? Is it going to be at Atlanta Sea Colony? So that's something I just found out today that we're going to be getting here pretty soon. And we'll have to figure that out. Now make it a whole lot easier for us to tag stuff in social media. Hey, go watch our video over at whatever it is. So,
I didn't even hear about.
Yeah,
that.
I didn't either. I just got the email today and they're talking about it. So I was like, okay, well, that'll be something to put out there and what people think it should be. It should be something completely different at what atmosphere living. I don't know.
I don't like that at all.
I know you wouldn't.
It's too complicated.
Too complicated. I like ASC, but since all other stuff is Atlanta Sea Colony, I'm almost wondering if it should be all the way out.
Can we do two?
I don't think so. Not from the way it looked. So anyway, we don't have to decide right now. It's not live yet anyway, but I want to throw that out there.
Oh, all right. Well, yeah.
The other
big business decisions we got to make.
Yeah. The other thing, I got this in the mail this week. And it's advertised and stuff like that. But anyway, it is on October. It's on Ocean Builder and Seasteading and stuff like that. But October 29th at 10 a.m. Pacific, there's they're hosting a live event. And it's talking about, I don't know, NFTs and something else. It's like their official launch or something like that. So just go to the Seasteading website or the Ocean Builders website and you can register for that thing. I think it's free for anybody to go register. But if you're interested in that kind of stuff, which obviously we all are to one extent or another, it might be something you can join. 29th, I think it's a Saturday, if I don't remember. Yeah, Saturday. So it's Saturday morning-ish, depending on where you're at. So there's that. Two other things. One, I know Adam was asking last night. Did you ever get a chance to check out the new Patreon only merch, babe? The link?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I did.
Okay. And then Adam was just about, and anyway, I'm wearing one of the hoodies I got from it. What side is it here at the Atlanta Sea Colony?
That's the one I was That's what I was looking at getting myself.
Yeah, so it's really thin, so it's not definitely for warm at all. But I like it's a very thin material. I like the way it feels and everything. And this is like in the cloth, so it's not going to wash off like some of the other stuff in the wash and stuff.
Do you
it's
feel
really well done.
True to size, like when you ordered your size, you're like,
I ordered extra large, and I'm happy the way it fits on me.
So, and that's typically what you wear and stuff.
Yeah, I don't typically well.
Okay.
Now the only one thing I will say about this is the zipper was jank, and I contacted support and it was like, we usually test the zippers, but we'll replace it, no problem. Stuff like that. Just take a picture of what it's doing, type of thing. But we got it fixed after the wars, and it still has a little bit. It's just idiosyncrasy on it right now. So
it might have been a one-off thing.
I think it was a fluke thing. I'm not too concerned about it. So yeah.
4.9 stars.
Yeah, Adam requested something on one of the merch, and Babe, if you got suggestions on stuff we want to make, because I'm still working through making the different merch. It's a whole longer process with this company than the other one was to make it, just because there's so many more variables. But for our Patreon members, you'll get first dibs at all this stuff. We'll push it out there for a while, then slowly transition over from the current company to this one here, I think.
And one of the things that's on there that I'm super pumped about is the mouse pads. Those things.
Yeah, the mouse pads are sick. And even like the duffel bag is really, it's like an Adidas duffel bag. It's like name brand stuff on there. We get branded with like embroidered. A lot of stuff is embroidered in there instead of just like printed on there. Like the hats are embroidered. The shirts can be embroidered or you can have them printed. So there's a lot of options there. There's even a beanbag chair we could have. So I don't know if we're going to go there. I don't know if sure.
My kids would like it, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's true. Anyway, so that's something else. And the last thing to talk about real quick is that I have been working on, I mentioned it last live, the focus for 2023 that I need to get with you guys at some point in time, sit down and talk about business plan for 2023, how we're all involved, the changes coming up, what we're doing, and stuff along those lines. The focus, the goals, all that kind of stuff. So, and we will be doing a live or a pre-recorded video, I'm not sure yet, on that one here. Probably next month or maybe December at the latest. So that's all the stuff I got going on that I think I needed to address. But yeah, so the reason Babe is here is it's been a couple months now. We go and talked about this because I knew you were in the hyperbaric space. I mean, I think it's an area I don't know much about. I understand the concept. That's about all I know about it. But I was watching some show and they're talking about the health benefits of tons of oxygen on the body and the health benefits. So I said, man, since you're in that, let's do a video on hyperbaric medicine, and not only that, but how it's going to, with us being underwater, we could easily transition a habitat into a hyperbaric environment, really, and what kind of health benefits would there be if we did that? So with that in mind, unless you got anything else, Adam, I'm just going to give it to Babe.
Yep, let's give it to him.
Take it, Babe.
Okay. Can I take it off subject just for a moment?
Go for it.
Okay. So if anyone plays Subnautica, all I'm saying is that there's sulfur in the game and there's Leviathan droppings. Well, let's put it nicely. And if anyone knows how to make projectile utensils, I'm trying to be careful what I say on YouTube, then you'll know that you got a lot more at your disposal to fight off the things that are mean to you in that game than what they give you.
Interesting.
Okay.
I've tried that, I guess.
Yeah. Well, obviously the game ain't going to let you, but I'm just saying.
Oh, okay.
The ingredients are there.
Pack or something there for it.
So hyperbarics. Before I get started, I'll just say the Tech Clark's League of Extraordinary Divers. He just had Joe DeTuri on there, and I'm not even going to try to explain. He's obviously on that show for a reason. Really cool sounding guy. Just another person I would think would be awesome to meet. The one atmosphere diving suit, the one-man submarine thing with the moving arms and legs. He's one of the pilots of that. He's done a lot of really cool stuff, and that's his focus now is hyperbarics medicine. So it was a really cool interview with him. if you don't know anything about hyperbaric medicine, hyperbarics in general, hyperbaric meaning more than normal pressure. So there's our atmospheric pressure. Anything more than 1.4, I think, percent of that above normal. Am I saying that right? And anyways, it is considered hyperbaric, and it's using Henry's law for it pushes gases into liquids. That's the quick easy of it.
Okay.
So the idea of hyperbaric medicine is to push oxygen into more or less your blood plasma. Okay. Boyle's law. So Boyle's law is temperature. Because I'm just trying to see if he's getting at something specific.
So here's my question with that. So it's basically, when we're talking about diving and stuff like that, it's basically the reverse of nitrogen narcosis or the bends and stuff like that, because it's the gas coming out. And so,
yes,
correct. And so this is pushing the gases back in.
So it's pushing oxygen in. It's pushing oxygen into not just the blood cells. It's pushing in your plasma, and I mean it's saturating everything with oxygen. So as a result, nitrogen don't have a lot of places to go. So it's just going to leave your body as soon as you exhale it. I mean, it's trying to get out because oxygen is being pushed in everywhere.
So that's the purpose of that's the purpose of it, is so you exhale the nitrogen normally versus through your skin.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yes.
I did not know that. Okay.
So,
sorry, real quickly. Boyle's law, the quick definition on here says the absolute pressure exerted by a given mass of an ideal gas is inversely proportional to the volume it occupies if the temperature and amount of gas remain. Or
okay.
Hold on, I guess it didn't give it the.
So
if it, never mind, keep going.
It's a constant temperature. So the temperature is constant with Boyle's law. So that's
Riley?
your constant. And so your pressure and your volume are your variables for Boyle's law. So retaining a constant temperature, but in a hyperbaric chamber, because you're increasing the pressure, your temperature changes.
Sure.
Because a lot of people, I went to and viewed a hyperbaric chamber here not too long ago, a place, and because I took the vacation time, and that's what I did for vacation. I went to a hyperbaric medicine place and got to observe for the day. And so they have ways to channel the air and oxygen past the person in there to be like a fan to help keep them cool as they're going under pressure. So that just gives you an idea, because the temperatures do change as you go. As Joe said, see, the place I went to, and I've always heard it as the patient taking dives. I guess they're trying to change that in some places. Rather than saying the patient is taking a dive for hyperbarics, it's just a session. But so oxygen is being saturated into your system, and as a result, our bodies uses that oxygen like crazy in that way. So it'll reduce swelling. I'm just going to go through some of these things in this list. I pulled this from Apollo Health Clinic, their online site, but it agrees with all the other places I went. The only reason I use this is because it was like really to the point, bullet point things, so I could read it quickly. What they have on here is shown recent research people to recover from the below medical conditions with impressive success rates. So head injuries, migraine headaches, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, multiple sclerosis, Huntington's disease, fetal alcohol syndrome, spinal cord injuries, pre-stroke prevention, post-stroke recovery, diabetic neuropathy, cancer. They're working on some of the cancers just because some cancer cells use oxygen to grow themselves rather than fight. But what really, as far as cancer, is radiation treatment. So the radiation tears you up, and getting to take a hyperbaric treatments can heal that. Yes, carbon monoxide poisoning. So it pushes it replaces that gas with oxygen.
Would another I guess me being medically inept, but like just with oxygen itself, like with and obviously a million times more, so tell me if I'm wrong, but like those canisters that are like pure oxygen people like will take, like sometimes athletes do it and stuff, isn't like the whole concept that even like just a little boost of oxygen like that helps wake up your system, helps give you a little bit more energy, helps you catch your breath type deal. Like, so even like just a little bit of a burst of oxygen like that is beneficial. Whereas what you're saying with this is like pushing like throughout your whole body.
Yes, your tissues, your tissues absorb it. The plasma, the blood absorbs it. The blood cells absorb it. Like it's an oversaturation.
Right.
And so in a hyperbaric chamber, you're not using pressurized air. You're using pure oxygen, or you're using either or.
It's either or. It depends on what you're there for.
So okay, yeah,
it is either or.
That's why I heard originally what started my whole process. It was a pure oxygen, like hyperbaric pure oxygen, and it was almost to the extent it was like a dead limb or something along those lines, or a burnt limb or something like that. They were able to like almost bring it back to life because of the pure oxygen effect of the thing. I was like, holy cow! If that's true, then if you could almost survive, have like a habitat in pure oxygen or something like that. I mean, obviously there's huge risks involved there too, but the health benefits alone from that, what would that do to your quality of life, if nothing else? Or if you were suffering from something like you mentioned, like Parkinson's and stuff along those lines, I mean, what kind of benefits are they seeing from that? Just for example.
Yes, because that's one of the things you watch a lot of things on. You'll see, you can watch all kinds of, on YouTube, you can watch all kinds of presentations on hyperbaric medicine done by different doctors or presenters. But that's one of the things they usually show is some kind of necrosis or gangrene, something that looks, before it's, well, we're going to have to cut it off.
Right.
But now you're looking at.
Yeah, that's what it was. They were going to cut off the limb. They were going to cut the limb off, and they went ahead and he said, let's try this, and it healed it.
Yep. And I'm not lying to you when I tell you, a person, the day that I went and visited that place, there was a person there getting their last treatment. And they said that the doctor that had first seen their issue said they were going to amputate. And that person said, no, you're not. Went and got other opinions, had a doctor refer them to getting hyperbaric treatment, and that person's problem, just because of HIPAA and everything, I'm not doing anything specific here. Yeah. That person's problem was fixed. It was all healed instead of getting cut off. And it's something that no person, doesn't matter the gender, just so we don't go there, no person would want cut off. I promise. Okay. So it was like, wow, that's really cool. I know Glenn's been talking and I've been missing it.
Yeah, Glenn's talking here. But it's like, now if you smoke something at depth, has a kick multiple at depth, also used for diabetes. So I have diabetes. I have type 2 diabetes. And the way I found out is because I started having like the symptoms of neuropathy on my feet. And that's why it sent me in. And so I have a small level of neuropathy in my feet, and depending on my diet, I can feel it worse than others. So that's also what intrigues me about this whole thing too, is because everybody's like, well, it's irreversible. I'm like, and from the sounds of it, it's not irreversible.
No, that's,
So,
especially the earlier you start on it,
yeah,
the better possibility of, not being a
right.
reversible, irreversible thing. Yeah.
So, but I'm down with Glenn's. I mean, I'll try smoking something at depth if that'll fix my diabetes too. I mean, hey, if I don't have to diet, I could just, go hang out in a decompression chamber or something for a while.
Well, the issue here is you're not going to want to be smoking anything or putting any.
Let's not try to negate some of this stuff.
Pressurized oxygen. It's probably not a good idea. If you give it fuel, as oxygen increases the ability to be flammable. That's what.
That's always been my question about the whole thing too, is because it is that you got pure oxygen, the flammability aspect right there. How does that? How do you? And maybe I'm getting ahead of myself with your conversation here. I apologize for that.
It's all right.
But how does you start dealing with electrical issues? They're going to spark or potential spark, and they could light to become flammable.
Yeah.
If you use a chamber, what do you say? What do you say?
Oh, sorry, I'll put it back up.
If you use a chamber and inhale a large percentage of to a depth, enriches the tissue and accelerates repair. Okay, Glenn.
So theoretically, so how? And I'm sure you're going to explain this. Like Brendan, I'm probably jumping ahead of it. Is there time limits on how long you can do it before it becomes that, or is it just okay?
Yes, there is. It's called oxygen toxicity. So that's the reverse side. So living in a habitat is not something you would want constant. So if you're going to not live at a 1 atmosphere, you would want, you'd want to, and it would take some figuring out, but I think it could be done. Oxygen, or at least like one unit would be for your oxygen chamber, where that enriched oxygen is in that chamber for this amount of time. Right. And then that's, it brings you out of that oxygen and back into normal air, and keeps you at whatever depth. But again, it would have to be figured, because right now they do a given amount of treatments for a given amount of time. The oxygen, as far as I know, it stays in your system roughly 6 hours after you come out of the chamber. So it's still working for you.
Right. It's
still working for your body for that time, which is pretty cool. But yeah, we were talking about the dead limb stuff, and what Glenn was saying, it actually encourages capillary growth, so blood flow, and that's, it increases those cells. It makes them hyperactive, makes them get to it, and it'll grow. It grows. I don't know how to say it. It just grows new life, gives new life to cells. It makes them multiply good. And move.
Well, and talking about that segment of time, the rumor was Michael Jackson slept in like a hyperbaric chamber type of thing. Yeah. I said, would that be a thing where you had it for your sleeping pod, where you slept in it at night, then you came out and the rest of your day was a normal day, you slept in it type of thing? I'm just hypotheticals here. Would that be a solution to it or not?
It would, because here's the thing with being a hyperbaric oxygen, so oxygen under pressure, they're extremely strict about what goes into that chamber as far as materials, anything that's on your skin, even earbuds not going to be allowed in there because of the electronic aspect. So so if you have your own chamber, and as long as your own safety's in your hands at that point. But if you're willing to live in one of these, it's pretty much a given. That's something you're willing to take on anyway. And so, you would go in and have it pre-programmed, and it would give you your dives as you slept.
Yeah. Interesting. Glenn's got another thing here. So commercial divers are treated on a fizz factor, a critical amount of time to get into and back down to depth to recompress. It pays less money to recompress in a chamber than it does in the water. Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. All right, let's ask some questions. Keep on filling us with information here, babe.
I was just going to hit on some of these other topics because let me see. Cellular energy production improves the health and function of bone and stem cells. Overall mitochondrial function. Nitric oxide in the blood flow to all organs and tissues. I mean, that's just what it does. It just saturates your system. It has neurological benefits, heart health benefits, eye health benefits, and like for the neuropathy thing, it reduces inflammation and pain. All of a sudden, I can't talk tonight. A physical stamina, so that you're talking about the one hitters, and those will give you a little bump. Some people notice it more than others. I've often wondered because I grew up in Colorado. The atmosphere is less dense and there's less atmospheric pressure, especially when you go up the mountains. And so you get high enough, you want oxygen. I have had a patient recently, and her and I were talking, and that person had to move. Again, I probably said too much, but I'll change what I'll cover here. They had to move from a higher elevation to a lower elevation because they were required to be using oxygen at that higher elevation. And there's more to it, but that's enough detail to give you the idea of it. Right. And that's just that's hypobaric. It's not enough pressure, so it's not what pushing the oxygen in. So living more at a sea level type pressure, that person was getting enough oxygen then to be able to not have to use it. But it sugar. So here's your diabetic, the sugar metabolism and diabetic benefits. Accelerates sports injury recovery, plastic surgeries, all kinds of plastic surgeries, stroke. In this case, prevention. So it must be something that they can find, as a precondition and stick you in for hyperbaric. So there's your post-stroke, which I knew it was there. Post-stroke recovery, traumatic brain injury recovery, anti-inflammatory process, which is part of your wound healing part of it. So, if you don't know, the biggest thing, especially I'll say that's approved by insurance right now, or your big insurance is your wound healing. So for people that can't get some kind of wound healed up, that's one of the big things that hyperbaric oxygen therapy does, is it reduces the swelling. So the edema, in a leg or whatever, or a foot that's swelling up so bad, and it's just not, it's not conducive to healing then. And it's not getting the circulation and stuff it needs because it's all swollen. And so that pressure reduces that swelling, and then the oxygen can get in there and do what it needs to do to help. Severely summarizing some of this stuff, but you get the idea. And so there's even, if you live in an area that's has Lyme disease, ticks, Lyme disease problems, that it shows help with that. So Alzheimer's and dementia. Well, let me see what some of the decreases the inflammation, reduces the fatigue. Some of this is
put that together.
It's fascinating that there's this cure out there to all these different things, or at least this, and it's rarely used or not known about too. I mean,
yep. So I told you ahead of time I was probably the reason I didn't say any specifics about like where this hyperbaric place was that I went and who it was, because the person that helped me, they were great. So it's no reflection on them at all. And I mean at all. They were absolutely great. They answered all my questions, helped anything they could. The reason I don't say anything more about it is because of the physicians that are linked to it. And not all of them, don't get me wrong, because the one in charge obviously wouldn't be in charge if they didn't agree with it.
Right.
But for most of the doctors that are referring to that unit, that hyperbaric place, they're from out of the area, I'll say competitor medical facilities these doctors are from. And it's because the doctors in the local areas to that facility think it's some kind of medieval voodoo or something. And,
right.
Instead of looking at the studies are there. If I can find them, they can find them. The studies are there. It's pretty rock solid proof. It's like, how can you not see it? It's right here.
Well, I mean, why would they put them in clinics and hospitals if they didn't work?
Right. Well, now, at the same time, I'm pretty cynical when it comes to, because I've worked in medical too long, because I've seen too many times, it's like, is that being done for money or is that actually helping people? And so
we're going to become a conspiracy channel here before too long at this rate.
Yep. All right.
That's the next show.
That's our next podcast.
Okay. Stay tuned.
but Glenn's got a comment here talking about, so it's like, if we live at depth, we would heal faster, live longer, and have less problems with time of healing and less infection. It seems like we would need to be at depth all the time.
Yeah. If you know some of your diver friends, they'll tell you that, like, if they can keep it dry, especially, something heals up really fast.
Segue from that point, there was a Sequest episode that dealt with this whole thing. Charlton Heston guest star on an episode where he was a scientist and he built like an underwater base in a cavern underwater, and he was like 160 years old when they found him, and he attributed to being at depth and being at pure oxygen, all that kind of stuff for all his time. It gave him long life because he was able to stay healthy and healed all that time. And even back then in the 90s, I was like, oh, is that legit? And I guess there is some evidence to that. I don't know necessarily about the
wonder too. I remember it was like high school or something, there was this one like short story we read about like mankind had just started like populating the moon or whatever. And like the concept of the story is that they were figuring out that people were living longer on the moon because there wasn't as much gravity, therefore it wasn't taking as much of a toll on the body. And in reality, that might be true. Maybe in like a atmosphere or an environment where there's less gravity, that's less pressure on your body. So then that makes me think, like, if you were to build like a pressurized environment, which you'd have to be in, basically on the moon or somewhere else that doesn't have as much gravity, would you technically like be much healthier and live longer because you don't have all these like things that we're dealing with here? You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of weird to think about, but is there some sort of merit to that? Okay, sorry.
Is there?
Well, I mean, no. I think diet comes into play a lot with that too. I mean, if you mix like a pure, like, that's why when I think about living underwater, I think you're going to have purified water coming straight from the water, so it's not going to have anything put in it. You're going to be living in a filtered, compressed can, so your air is going to be pure. Your food is probably going to be grown local. I mean, it's going to be a utopia as far as your health goes, and no radiation issues either because you're underwater. So technically, it should be a utopia for your body. What's Glenn saying?
Glenn's already contributing to our other podcast.
That's why Space Aliens are, over 400 years old, and I can't tell you how I know that one either.
Well, see, it's the one of the Pleiadians and the Reptilians. No,
I know. But no, so once again, I think this is one of the exciting things about, using not habitats for scientific, but just for everyday use. And what does that do for the everyday person? Because scientists are down there for limited periods of time, testing this stuff out, and they're finding lots of good information. But if you start putting people down there, living down there, growing down there, children and stuff, so all that kind of thing, what kind of benefits is it going to have growing up in an environment that is protected, purified, clean, and maybe even pressurized? What a couple of generations of that, what kind of people are we going to have? I don't know. These are the things I think about when I'm laying in bed at night.
Okay, I got to ask a question though.
Yeah.
Did Charleston Heston ask if the apes were still on the earth?
You know what?
When they
I need to go back
found
and
it.
watch that episode. I don't know if there's that whole episode was dealing with mermaids, and so it was the second season. So it's getting weird, and he had these offspring that they were genetically engineered. They were like mer people, and he stayed in this thing. It was this old like Nautilus style submarine and stuff. It's a crazy episode. I think it's just a paycheck for Charlton Heston at that point in time. But anyway,
I didn't think he was still alive in the 90s.
Oh yeah. Glenn thinks humans would definitely evolve. I think there would be some level of
defiantly.
Oh, definitely.
Defiantly.
Yeah, I mean,
defiantly evolve.
But then you stuck because you try to go back on the surface. He's like, you have to be the boy in the bubble at that point in time.
And
then
fish eyes.
It begs the question. So when they did the research, like on some of these guys that stay in the space station that have stayed there for like over a year, and when they come back, they notice that some of their genetic material was a little bit different, or like some of their, I don't know,
their bone density and muscle density is jacked big time.
Well, not just that, but they figured there was something different with their, I don't know, genetics or something like that, which was super weird. But same concept, like how much of that could be different if you were to live underwater.
That's what I'm saying with the radiation aspect. I'm sure they're getting hit with more radiation than we see here on Earth. And same thing, if you're underwater, you're getting protected from that radiation because the ocean's going to be protecting you from that. But so who knows? But we're off the subject of the bariatric medicine at that point in time. But yeah, I agree.
Not necessarily. I'll segue us back into it, babe. I was looking here while I was listening along. This article was saying that they've done some, I don't know, treatments or experiments or whatever, and they found some success with the hyperbaric treatment for people that have long COVID, like a lot of the symptoms that have came with long COVID, like the brain fog that comes with it, and memory loss, and all just any of the stuff that has come with long COVID or whatever. It says that it's helped with that, because my immediate thought was like, with it being a respiratory thing, having a oxygen pumped in you, would it help in a situation like that? So that's what made me look it up.
Well, to that point, what's his name? Oh, he's made those helmets. He was big back with the COVID was a pandemic about refitting rebreathers and stuff like that with big plastic helmets for COVID, and was selling them, stuff like that. Let me find him real quick. Lombardi. Was it Michael Lombardi? It's not Vince.
No, I was thinking of someone else that was claiming that they came up with this idea first.
No. Not him. Michael Lombardi, who he's big in that whole thing. He's created a whole entire industry almost around providing hyperbaric, like almost helmets that the people have been wearing to push the oxygen for people dealing with COVID into them, stuff along those lines.
I know what Glenn's saying there, but I'll just jump into that real fast because you watch. I can't remember. I just watched it again the other day, but it was
Murder, She Wrote.
The giant creatures at depth. So you got those, the little sand fleas or whatever, tiny little things at the surface. You go to depth and they're 15 inches long. They're huge. And all that pressure. It's a huge amount of pressure.
And that's why all the animals at the center of the earth, like the dinosaurs and stuff, they're all still there that they found when Bird made the flight over the poles in the middle of the earth, because they're giant and stuff like that from the pressure.
That's our third podcast that you're talking about. I'm like, that's like beyond.
That's a deep dive.
That's the deep dive conspiracy theory thing.
Well, if we want to go down that path, the short Earth creationists say because of the firmament that the Earth was at a 2 times oxygen level, and that's why everything was bigger and lived longer back then too.
And the atmosphere would have been heavier. Yep.
That's why Adam was able to live 900 years, because of the pure oxygen environment that we were living in. So that'll be part of our other podcast.
This Godfellow might be onto something here. I'd read more of his stuff. Continue, babe. Before me and Brendan completely derail this.
the podcast I told you about, League Extraordinary Divers, Tech Clark with Joe DeTuri.
Yep.
Joe actually hit on the COVID thing. He said their business, I forget how much a percentage, it like went way up with COVID, because they're finding more and more things that it's helping with COVID. So then it's, being medical. I don't know how much he has to deal with directly with insurances. I don't know. Some places get a bill differently, depending on what their status is, as a medical provider. So that if you're like traditional billing, then it's getting your insurance to approve whatever issue that it should help and get it done. So then, of course, it's getting the doctors on board, because they have to get their cut of that, and that they earn that. I'm good with that. It's the game and the ridiculous hoops that have to be jumped.
Yeah.
Well,
and I mean, It only makes sense, like with going back to tying it with the COVID thing, is like when people that had to go to the hospital and stuff because of COVID. I mean, what was going on? They were putting them on ventilators and getting them oxygen, trying to get them as much oxygen as possible. Because obviously that's what you're lacking when you have, like, obviously the super bad version of it. So yeah, I could see how people would want to go through that or try that or experiment with that to see if that, helps too. Yeah, it's a different version of it, but if it's still finding a way of getting oxygen in your system, then.
I said in the last couple of days that I had COVID that first time, I had my dad bring me some of those canisters that you put in your mouth and you suck the air in. Like that. Because I was like, I gotta get some. My fingers were turning purple. I was like, I gotta get some oxygen in me. Somehow I wasn't getting it. So yeah, I'm still here. So
yeah,
Adam.
That's.
So you got anything else there?
Well, I'll tell you this, and this is one of the people at the Hyperbaric place told me when they went through their course to do that, the course they were sent to run the hyperbaric chambers. They watched a video of a rat that was put in a hyperbaric chamber. The rat already had the IV system hooked up to it. I don't know how long, but they put hyperbaric 100% oxygen on this rat, and then they pulled all the rat's blood out of it. And that thing's walking around like normal because its oxygen was so saturated, or its body. Wow. I'm like, I don't want to. I shouldn't joke around and say I'm like stroking out or something. Turn them all my work.
Get in the hyperbaric chamber quick.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, they pulled the rat's blood out of it, and because all of its tissue and everything was just so saturated with oxygen, its body was living off of that oxygen until they put the blood back in it.
Makes sense.
That's insane.
Yeah,
from a respiratory therapist view, that's like what?
Yeah.
Now don't be getting any ideas, babe, when you're like, if you're helping people out, be like, listen, we're going to get rid of all your blood, but it's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get some air canisters.
Babe starts the zombie invasion here.
It's alive.
It'd be cool. Like is it Futurama that it has all the heads?
Yeah.
Yeah, you just keep the head oxygenated and plop
Yeah.
it in a jar.
Well, this is an extremely interesting topic, more interesting than I thought it was going to be, because I figured the stuff I'd heard was just fake news and it wasn't legit, but you're basically validating the information I heard, which, I mean, I don't know. It's extremely interesting.
That's why, my own reading is boring to
Yeah.
most people, and people can't believe that I took vacation to go to something like
Yeah.
that. But yeah, I want to do it. I really do. And right now, there's always that excuse, but right now life really isn't set up for me to do it, and that's okay.
Yeah.
I'm trying to turn things so that I can get it done.
Very cool.
Now, have you yourself done hyperbaric therapy for anything?
No, I would. That's another thing. See, I'm trying to keep my radar open for and find out what chambers are anywhere close, and by close 200 300 miles I'm willing to drive, because dive days. Did I
For a
Yeah.
second,
still
you
here?
did.
Okay, there are places that'll have like dive days. I've heard of scuba clubs that they donate money. They get like sponsors and they donate money to this hyperbarics place, and in return they get to take hyperbaric just hyperbaric dives. Now, not oxygen, just stick you in a chamber and run you down to pressure, and to see if you get narked or not. I mean, that's all right, let's get narked. Let's go jump in a chamber. The worst we can do is beat on the glass. We're good. So yeah, which I think that's cool. And so if more places treated it like that, I think more of a community vibe to it like that. I think there'd be more of them around. Yeah, Glenn. Most major hospitals do, and it's for the wound healing. Most of them do, and I've always been disappointed. I understand why they do it. It's money. I get it. They have to run it as a business. I get that, but most hospitals like that, most of the major hospitals contract. It's a contracted place that brings that chamber in there, and runs your techs, and so you get to put a nurse and a doctor over that system, and that's your system. So it's not even owned by most of the hospitals. It's usually a contracted deal. But that's another job I never even thought about. Is there's a specific crew of people for these manufacturers that maintain these chambers. So they do the maintenance. And of course, me being the dummy I am, I like mechanical stuff. I love it. I've done it all my life on cars and stuff. So it's like, ooh, I could go be a person who works on my hyperbaric chambers. So yeah.
So could anyone, like, say, even if you didn't have like a medical reason to use one, could anyone hop in one for a period of time to just get like a little boost, or like, is it harmful if you're to do one just for I guess no specific reason?
It probably wouldn't be harmful for like a short give.
Right.
That you'd still, I don't know how to say it, America being America, lawyers being lawyers, you'd still have to jump through all the hoops of probably getting it okay by your doctor and signing a bunch of waiver sheets that that there's a possibility something bad can happen, because there are
Right.
a handful of bad things that could happen to you.
It's what I'm wondering is, like, if like even
Yeah,
like if
exactly,
people just
Glenn.
had like a small business and like they just had a couple or whatever, just for if people just same as like if you wanted to go get a massage or something like that. It's just like, I just want something
Yeah.
that'll make me feel good and pep me up a little bit. If there's a safe way of doing it, obviously, like someone that regulates it and sets it, but like that, just charge them whatever you need to charge them for them to use it for a period of time, and
Yeah.
it has whatever
Well,
effects.
without oxygen, then it just there, and then it's the same as scuba diving. So you're using your same dive tables,
Right.
without the added oxygen, and with a certain percentage of oxygen, you can use your nitrox tables.
Right.
So, there's some give and play, and yeah, I mean, I agree with what Glenn says. For you pay the right amount of money for it, and you can do it, and especially just like the pictures I've seen of Michael Jackson, he had, I believe, a Seacrest chamber.
I like how you know what one it was and everything.
He's like, I'm a big fan of Hyperbaric. A big fan of Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
But Glenn says the chamber run will not make you feel better.
First of all, Glenn, you don't know that. Like, you don't know what will make me feel better and what won't.
It could be everything you need in life.
Yeah, that might be one thing.
But to Adam's comment, I would have, you have to look at, the legalities and stuff like that, the insurance and all that kind of stuff. But it would be a good. My concern when people think it's like a snake oil salesman, like you've said, people look at it as medieval, witchcraft or whatever. But yeah, if you could prove to the public that, hey, there's benefits of this, and have those little shops set up, it could be a nice little moneymaker.
Well, just like massage
they're not probably that cheap.
Stuff like that. Like massage is like, yeah, they're nice to have, but there are benefits to having them too. Like, I mean, there is reasons that you would go and get them to help you out with something too.
I guess it'd be equated to like a chiropractor, because there's arguments, are chiropractors real doctors? Aren't they the same thing with this? I think probably the same argument. There'd be all the people who swear by it and other people who say, no, it's old technology.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, interesting.
I've never been on one. I could see, because I was sitting there watching Glenn's comments about it not making you feel better. So my question is, with the oxygen, would it make you feel better? I mean, just a regular chamber dive? No, because, you think how tired you can be after scuba diving, even if it was like, the most lackluster dive you ever had, you didn't move or anything. If you're going down and then back up long enough to make a difference, you still feel kind of wore out from it.
I mean, Glenn, I'm not opposed to the Atlantis Recompression Refreshment Center for $500 an hour.
Hey, maybe that's what we need to do. We need to buy a hyperbaric chamber first.
So there was a guy on LinkedIn giving one away a couple years ago.
Giving one away?
Yeah, they had it for as a thing. And it said if you have a location that I guess the place was going out of business or whatever, and he said it needs to find a home. If you have like a facility, you have to pick it up. But here it is.
They're like,
that makes me. Huh?
I was gonna say, I typed it in on Google, and I mean, like upwards of 9,000 to 30,000 is what I'm seeing.
They're on eBay. You can find them on eBay.
Yeah, you can make your money back pretty quick at 9,000.
Here's one that's 144,000. So
yeah, well,
not that one. I wonder if you could just build one yourself for cheap.
Yeah, you don't really feel it, but the slow return from death eliminates problems you already have acquired during the event. Yeah, basically just make an iron lung.
But those are different. Iron lungs are different. They run different.
Iron lung, same thing. One thing I've always been interested in is like the, I know it's a little bit, obviously it's quite a bit different, but like, a lot of times you see the athletes put those types of leggings on that put a lot of pressure and like stuff on just the legs or whatever. Like, I don't know what they're called. And I know it's different than the hyperbaric type deal, but same thing where they're putting a pressure on it to like, I don't know what it necessarily does, like if it's just a matter of like relaxing
the
it
muscles and stuff. Yeah,
I've always thought that'd be cool, but those things are pretty expensive too.
Is it the wraps you put on your legs that they like squeeze the leg in different places for circulation?
Not the wrap, but like they inflate and put like pressure on your legs, extremities.
Yeah, it's like a fluid movement. If it's the same thing, I'm thinking what you're saying. If I understand what you're saying,
yeah,
it's just for circulation. It's moving stuff around, keeping trying to keep the tissues alive.
Maybe we just need to buy like an old tanning bed, and then start hooking the stuff up to it. Just repurpose it.
It'd be easier to make it out of an old propane tank than it would a tanning bed.
There you go.
Compression
my
socks
father-in-law
to
has
increase
one.
blood flow to the other areas of the body is what Glenn's saying.
Well, that's compression socks. Those are different than what I'm thinking of.
It's like what old
Yeah,
men
it's-
wear.
Well, compression
Yeah,
socks are for what people like you should probably be wearing if you have diabetes.
I'm not old.
The chamber. This is one of the things that was really cool about visiting that. The only electronic thing on that chamber was a 9-volt battery that ran the phone to talk to the person inside.
And that was my question, is because that creates an electrical spark that could turn into an explosive. Is that why?
Right. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I mean,
Okay.
if you're designing something underwater, you have to be nothing in there can have power to it.
For oxygen.
Yes.
So this is for oxygen. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Glenn. Telling you to be careful with them age comments. But yeah, I was like, see, this is something I didn't know. After reading all this, it's like, just never.
Yeah.
Here it was.
It's fascinating.
And
It's
he
fascinating.
Let me look at one. Let me look at the guts of one that wasn't being used in house because it's just a panel. He pulled open. And I was like, see, it's just run by the pressure. The whole thing is run by the pressure that's fed into it, and it pressurizes then that way. That's like, I'll be darned.
So technically, you just get like an air compressor.
Yeah, I mean, theirs is it's run off a huge liquid oxygen, and it's all controlled that way.
Air compressor would just give you standard air; it wouldn't give you oxygen.
Yeah,
you'd have to.
I'm just gonna get like a giant
pressure cooker,
like a giant garbage bag, and tie it off and fit just get inside of it, and then have the air compressor just run into it.
Boom.
Yeah, that's gonna work.
That's the Wish version of the hyperbaric chamber.
But yeah, but really, it's not that complex to make one.
Right.
I mean, it's because
we say that, but I'm sure it actually is.
Well, I mean, you just have to a release valve for any air that needs expelled or filtered and air coming in. What else would there be? Pressure gauges and stuff along those lines. That's all external.
Yeah.
Unless I'm missing something here.
No, it was incredibly simple. Now it's not being used. It was being used with one gas, as far as mixtures or anything. So it's just oxygen.
Right.
And, there's no mixture, and it was a very limited depth that it would take you to for those chambers needs. So it was just really simple.
Right.
You add more, of course, there's more to it then.
Yeah. I want to try one now.
Yeah, that's I want to know after you try one. It's like, I don't got a good reason to be stuck in one that I know of anyway. So it's like,
yeah, Brendan, you have a medical reason to go use one.
That's right. Glenn says it's relatively simple, but the time and air transference is what takes the expertise.
It's just a little bit of trial and error. We'll figure it out.
That's right. We use your dogs and cat.
Well, at these things, they still learn the dive tables. So the person that was showing me specifically wanted nothing to do with water. This is not a water person at all. Don't even like swimming, but he still had to learn the dive tables when he,
makes sense. You're doing the same thing.
Yep.
Huh. Well, very cool, babe. Did you have anything else you wanted to add, or was that pretty much?
Oh, I just since I don't have a real specific plug other than check out that podcast by
which is
Zach,
also in our resources. We have that podcast in our resources on our page too. So yeah.
And YouTube. I mean, you can find, if you're like me, you can find presentations on YouTube just on this stuff, which is cool. And of course, go online.
If you find a really good one, you can send it over to Adam. He can post it on our social media too.
Yeah. And it sounds like Glenn has been through more of it. He ought to know more than me. We're going to have to get him on here, I'm telling you.
I know.
If nothing else, for the Christmas episode.
Santa.
Yeah, Santa. I know he's hearing me.
Anyway. All right, man. Well, thank you very much for doing this. It's been very informative. No, it's been very informative. I mean, this is, good episode. I appreciate that. All right, Adam.
I will say this before you go to that.
Yeah.
It's funny because that's not even what we started to make this episode. It was going to be about hyperbarics, but not this. So I'm still keeping my ear to the ground for the other part, so we can do a take two on or a part 2 on it.
On what?
On hyperbarics.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, it's
I thought you wanted to do on our conspiracies.
Oh, yeah. The next one. Stay tuned. All right.
All right, Adam.
Let me click my buttons here. All right, guys, you know the drill. AtlantaSeaColony.com. You go there. You can find all of our social medias. That's the Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, Discord. What other ones am I forgetting? I think we got the main ones. We have TikTok. Hit all of them. Blah 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 blah. We're good. So we got those. As of right now, you can go check out AtlantaSeaColony.com/merch. We will be transitioning, but as of right now, we have some updated stuff, but that's going out to the Patreon members at the moment. So, so if you're a Patreon member, you have access to the new store, or you will. Is it already up for them?
I should probably drop it in there. I want to add some more products in there first, but I'll go ahead and drop it in Patreon.
Well, drop it in there, and then Patreon members, you can give us input on some products you might like to see in there too. And then we'll make Brendan design them. So it's just how it is.
I got one coming out with the Diver Down logo and the ASC symbol in the middle.
Nice.
I think that'd be kind of cool, I think.
So ways that you can help out, guys. Patreon.com/AtlantaSeaColony. We do our membership version there, like we just talked about. Different tiers that you can donate to. That helps us with just doing the stuff like we're doing right now. Helps us with all of our costs and helps us with travel. We have done, or Brendan's done some travel with it on behalf of ASC, and doing the computer stuff, doing all the getting a hold of engineers and marketing tools and all that. So all that stuff helps with that. Or if you just want to do a one-time donation, go to www.paypal.me/AtlantaSeaColony and just donate one time. Donate any amount. Anything is helpful, and we will take it ever so graciously. Speaking of the Patreon members, this is our Patreons. I already started missing. I'm sorry. Edward Haas, Brian Acosta, Matthew Cathy, Martin Reese, S. Babe Hyde, yours truly, and I think I missed one at the beginning. No, I didn't. Got them all. So thank you, patron members, for your help, and viewers like you.
Yes. Thank you, guys.
Like I said before, the best thing you guys can do is spread the word about ASC. Spread the social media, tell your friends, bring it up. Thanksgiving's coming up, so like when you sit down with your family, just be like, hey,
don't talk politics at Thanksgiving. Talk Atlanta Sea Colony at Thanksgiving.
Right.
You're like, you know what I'm thankful for? Underwater habitats and data centers. And they're like, really? And then you can give them the link to our website.
That's right.
Same thing at Christmas too. Buy a bunch of stuff off the ASC merch store and use that as presents. So just trying to give you guys some ideas. It's not too bad. Glenn, thank you for joining us tonight, buddy. It's always good to see you. Babe, thank you for joining us again. Yes. And obviously, I know you're a busy guy, but you can jump on anytime with us. So anytime that we're on, you can jump on and you can just be that guy. God, what was Johnny Carson's buddy's name? Ed?
Ed McMahon.
Ed McMahon. You can just be the Ed McMahon. You'll be like, ha, 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 ha. And then you don't have to say anything if you don't want to. But anyways, guys, thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you in 2 weeks, I'm assuming. So check you out then. Oh, I hit the wrong line. Hold on.
It would freeze.